You're listening to BL Nocturne. This story is an original work written and produced by BL Nocturne. Please do not copy, reproduce, or repost it without permission. Blood Moon Contract. Book 1, Chapter 2. Stand behind me. The forest fell silent. Not the peaceful silence of nature, but the suffocating silence that comes just before something terrible happens. Lucien stood frozen. The crimson glow of his moonstone pendant shimmered in his trembling hand. The three hooded hunters no longer looked at him. Their attention had shifted toward the stranger standing a few paces ahead. Tall, calm, unmoving. His long black coat stirred gently in the cold night breeze. For a long moment, no one spoke. The leader of the hunters slowly tightened his grip around his sword. "It really is you," the stranger answered without turning. "You've already crossed a line you cannot return from." The hunter laughed, low, mocking. "The Alpha King himself leaves his palace for a single boy?" Lucien frowned. "Alpha King?" His eyes slowly lifted toward the stranger. "No, it couldn't be." The stranger finally spoke. His voice was calm, steady, powerful. "My name is Kael Noctis. The boy stays with me." The words echoed through the forest. None of the hunters hesitated. "Kill them both." Steel flashed beneath the blood moon. 3 blades lunged forward. Lucien instinctively stepped back. Kael didn't move, not until the first blade came within reach. Then, everything happened at once. He caught the attacker's wrist. One sharp twist. The sword crashed onto the forest floor. Before the second hunter could react, Kael drove him backward with a crushing strike. The third attacker came from behind. Kael turned just enough to avoid the blade. One precise strike. The hunter collapsed to one knee. The entire fight lasted only seconds. Lucien stared in disbelief. He had never seen anyone move with such speed. No wasted motion, no panic, only absolute control. The wounded leader slowly rose. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. A faint smile crossed his face. So the stories were true. Kael's expression never changed. "Leave." Instead, the hunter crushed a black crystal. Dark smoke exploded across the clearing. The wind roared. When the smoke finally cleared, the hunters were gone. Silence returned. Kael slowly lowered his guard. His gaze settled on Lucien's glowing moonstone pendant. For the first time, recognition flickered across his face. Then disbelief. Almost hope. Far beyond the whispering forest, someone had just learned that the Alpha King had found the moon's chosen. The forest grew quiet once again. Only the soft rustling of leaves reminded them that the world beyond the clearing still existed. Lucien slowly lowered his trembling hand as the crimson glow around his moonstone pendant faded, leaving only the gentle silver light of the moon. Kael remained standing with his back to him, silent, alert. His eyes scanned the darkness, as if expecting the hunters to return at any moment. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "Are you hurt?" Lucien blinked before quietly answering, "No." Kael gave a small nod. "Good." Silence settled between them once more. Lucien couldn't take his eyes off the man before him. This was the Alpha King, the ruler whose name every child in Ilarion had grown up hearing. A king feared for his strength, respected for his power, whispered about as cold, distant, and impossible to approach. But standing here, beneath the blood moon, Kael looked nothing like the stories. He didn't seem cruel. He didn't seem arrogant. He simply looked exhausted. Summoning his courage, Lucien finally asked, "You came for me?" Kael didn't answer. Instead, he walked to one of the abandoned swords lying on the forest floor. He knelt and examined the blade carefully. Near its hilt was a strange symbol, a black wolf wrapped in twisting vines. The moment Kael saw it, his expression darkened. "So they've returned." Lucien frowned. "Who?" Kael rose to his feet. "The people who attacked you aren't ordinary mercenaries. They belong to an order that should have vanished centuries ago." Lucien instinctively touched the moonstone pendant around his neck. "They knew what this was." Kael looked directly into his eyes. "They know far more than that." Confusion filled Lucien's face. "I don't understand any of this. I've spent my whole life in the library. I've never hurt anyone. So why are they hunting me?" For the first time, Kael looked away. When he finally answered, his voice was quiet. "Because of who you are." Lucien shook his head. "I'm nobody." Kael's expression remained calm. "No, that's simply what you've been allowed to believe." The words struck Lucien like thunder. Questions flooded his mind. But before he could ask another, a cold wind swept through the clearing. The trees groaned softly. Kael's eyes narrowed. "We're leaving. They'll be back." Then, a chilling howl echoed through the forest, followed by another and another. Kael slowly drew his silver sword. Moonlight shimmered across its polished blade. His voice became deadly serious. "Our real fight is only beginning." High above them, the blood moon burned brighter than ever, and hidden among the trees, dozens of glowing golden eyes silently watched them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Golden eyes appeared in the darkness. One by one, enormous creatures stepped out from the shadows. They weren't ordinary wolves. Their black fur seemed to swallow the moonlight, and their glowing golden eyes never left Kael and Lucien. Lucien instinctively stepped back. "What are they?" Without looking away, Kael answered calmly. "Shadow wolves." Lucien's heart skipped a beat. "I thought they were only legends." "So did most people," Kael replied. A deep growl echoed through the forest as the largest wolf stepped forward. Then another, and another. Within moments, more than a dozen shadow wolves surrounded them. Lucien's breathing became uneven. "They're trapping us." Kael shook his head. "No, they're hurting us." "What's the difference? If they wanted us dead, they would have attacked already." "They're driving us somewhere." Before Lucien could answer, the alpha wolf lunged. Kael's silver sword met its claws with a shower of sparks. The impact shook the ground. "Run!" Kael shouted. Lucien hesitated. "What about you?" That wasn't a suggestion. Lucien turned and ran through the forest. Branches whipped across his face as the sounds of battle echoed behind him. Steel clashed. Weaves growled. Trees splintered. Then, silence. His heart pounded. Before fear could take over, someone grabbed his wrist. Lucien spun around. It was Kael. A long tear ran across the sleeve of his black coat. "You're hurt," Lucien said. Kael glanced at the wound. "It's nothing." Another howl echoed nearby. closer than before. Kael looked toward the sound. They're adapting. Lucien frowned. Adapting? They're learning how we fight. A chill ran through Lucien's body. Wolf can't do that. Kael's expression darkened. These aren't ordinary wolves. Suddenly the ground trembled. Leaves rained from the trees. Every shadow wolf stopped moving. One by one, they lowered their heads. Heavy footsteps echoed through the mist. A gigantic silhouette slowly emerged, twice the size of every other wolf. Its eyes burned crimson, and carved into its forehead was the same silver symbol marked on the hunter's swords. For the first time, Lucien saw genuine concern in the Alpha King's eyes. Kael tightened his grip on his sword. We need to leave. Now. The colossal beast lifted its head toward the blood moon and unleashed a roar that shook the entire whispering forest. Miles away inside the royal observatory, the oracle dropped the cup in her hands. It shattered across the marble floor. Her face turned pale as she whispered, "The Guardian has awakened." The Guardian's roar shook the whispering forest. Birds burst into the sky as ancient trees swayed violently. Without a second to waste, Kael grabbed Lucien's wrist. "Move!" They sprinted through narrow paths, hidden beneath tangled vines and towering roots. Behind them, the Guardian followed. Each thunderous step shook the ground. It wasn't rushing. It didn't need to. It knew they couldn't run forever. Lucien struggled to keep up. "How much farther?" he gasped. "Not far," Kael replied. A fallen tree blocked their path. Kael cleared it effortlessly, but Lucien stumbled over a root and crashed to the ground. Pain shot through his ankle. The Guardian roared again. Without hesitation, Kael pulled him back to his feet. "Can you walk?" Lucien nodded. "I'll manage." Kael looked him in the eye. "Don't try to be brave. Just stay alive." With one powerful swing of his sword, Kael cut through a thick curtain of vines covering a rocky cliff. Hidden behind them was a massive stone doorway covered in glowing ancient symbols. Lucien stared in amazement. "I've never seen this place before." "You weren't meant to," Kael answered. He placed his hand on the center of the door. Nothing happened. At that moment, the Guardian emerged from the mist, its crimson eyes blazing. Instinctively, Lucien grabbed his moonstone pendant. It erupted with brilliant silver light. The symbols across the stone door instantly came alive. A deep rumble echoed beneath the mountain as the ancient entrance slowly opened. Kael looked at Lucien in disbelief. "It was waiting for you," the Guardian charged. Kael pulled Lucien inside, just as the stone door slammed shut behind them. A tremendous impact shook the chamber. Then, silence. Lucien looked around in awe. Towering crystal pillars stretched into darkness, while ancient murals covered every wall. One mural stood apart from the rest. It showed two figures beneath the blood moon. One wore a crown. The other carried a glowing moonstone pendant. Their hands reached toward each other, but never touched. Beneath them, ancient words were carved into the stone. When the King of Shadows meets the moon's chosen, the gate of origins shall awaken. Before either of them could speak, a soft blue light spread through the chamber. The mural began to move. Slowly, the ancient figures turned their heads and looked directly at Kael and Lucien. The sanctuary began to tremble, not because of the Guardian outside, but because something deep within had awakened. Blue light spread across the chamber as ancient crystal pillars lit up one by one. Glowing symbols flowed across the stone floor like rivers of magic. Lucien stared in amazement. The mural before them was changing. Stone dissolved into light. Kael stepped forward, unable to hide his disbelief. "I've searched for this place my entire life." Lucien looked at him. "You knew it existed?" Kael nodded. "I knew the legends, but no king had ever found it." Lucien glanced at the glowing pendant around his neck. "Then why did it open for us?" Kael answered quietly. "It didn't open for me. It opened for you." Before Lucien could respond, an ancient voice echoed through the sanctuary. "At last, the heirs of the ancient promise stand together once more." The mural came alive. A magnificent kingdom appeared before them. Towering silver castles, floating bridges, moonlit palaces untouched by time. At the center stood two young men. One wore a royal crown. The other carried the same moonstone pendant hanging around Lucien's neck. They stood side by side, not as rivals, but as protectors. The mysterious voice spoke again. "When darkness consumed the world, the king and the moon's chosen sealed the gate of origins. Suddenly the peaceful kingdom vanished. Flames consumed the city. The sky turned crimson. Shadow creatures poured from a colossal gate surrounded by black fire. The crowned king drew his sword. The moon's chosen raised the glowing pendant. Together, they faced the darkness. The vision faded. Silence filled the hall of origins. Lucien could barely breathe. Did this really happen? Kael never looked away. History was rewritten. The first kingdom sacrificed itself to save the world. Lucien looked down at his pendant. Then, who was the moon's chosen? The ancient voice answered immediately. "You carry his blood." Lucien froze. "My blood?" Even Kael looked stunned. The prophecy was older and far more dangerous than either of them had imagined. Without warning, a violent crash shook the sanctuary. The massive stone doors trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. The guardian had found them. Kael's hand instinctively reached for his sword. "They're here." The blue lights flickered, then vanished. Darkness swallowed the hall of origins. Only Lucien's moonstone pendant continued to glow. And somewhere deep beneath the sanctuary, ancient eyes slowly opened. Darkness swallowed the sanctuary. Every crystal went dark. Only the moonstone pendant around Lucien's neck continued to glow, casting a soft silver light across the ancient chamber. Kael slowly raised his sword. Every instinct warned him that the greatest danger was no longer outside. Something had awakened inside the Hall of Origins. Then, an ancient voice echoed through the darkness. After 1,000 years, Lucien's heart pounded. "Who's there?" No one answered. Instead, the moonstone pendant floated into the air. Silver light spread across the stone floor, awakening ancient symbols hidden for centuries. The sanctuary trembled. At its center, the floor slowly split apart. From the darkness below rose a magnificent throne forged from silver and black crystal. The floating pendant settled perfectly into a space carved into the throne. The moment it touched, a pillar of brilliant silver light shot toward the ceiling. Outside, the guardian fell silent. Every shadow wolf stopped moving. Within the light, a figure slowly appeared. Not flesh, not spirit, a memory. He wore flowing silver robes, and around his neck rested a moonstone pendant identical to Lucien's. He smiled gently at Lucien. At last. Then he turned to Kael. The bloodline of the first king still endures. Kael lowered his sword. Who are you? I was the last moon's chosen. The guardian raised one hand. Visions filled the sanctuary. Ancient cities consumed by darkness. Kings falling in battle. The gate of origin sealed beneath blinding light. Then, one final vision. Kael stood over Lucien, his sword stained with blood. The vision vanished. The future is never fixed, the guardian said. It is only one possible path. Lucien stepped forward. Tell us how to stop it. The guardian shook his head. There are laws even I cannot break. Suddenly, a violent explosion shook the sanctuary. Cracks raced across the massive stone doors. The guardian had returned, and this time it wasn't alone. Heavy footsteps echoed beyond the entrance. The guardian looked at them one last time. Trust will decide the fate of kingdoms, but betrayal will decide the fate of the world. His body dissolved into countless silver lights. The moonstone pendant gently returned to Lucien's hand. Another deafening impact split the ancient doors. Cold air rushed into the sanctuary. Then a calm, merciless voice echoed from the darkness. Your Majesty, you should have left the boy to us. Kael's blue-gray eyes narrowed. He knew that voice. It belonged to someone who was supposed to be dead, who has returned from the shadows, and what secret connects him to the Alpha King and the Moon's Chosen. Find out in Chapter 3, A Blood Moon Contract. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter. See you next Friday under the blood moon.